Welcome back, everyone, to the continuation of the previous episode of the Football Analytics and Rant Show. And in this episode, or like short episode, hopefully, we'll be talking about the Saudi influence in football. Most notably, the recent influx of players into the Saudi Professional League. And my dear friend Elijah will be taking you through most of the details regarding the Saudi influence.
Yeah, so most of this article is through research by whatever sources were available through OneFootball and the other apps. So don't hold me accountable for most of it, but then I think I have done enough research for this. So as we know that in Saudi Arabia now they are going mad at signing new players, and there are many conspiracy theories about who is involved in what. And there was a conspiracy theory saying that Chelsea is partially owned by them because the company that owns Chelsea is getting money from the PIF, which is the public investment fund from Saudi. So that's a conspiracy theory, and the Athletic or the Tifo football thing made a video about it saying that it's a conspiracy theory and it's wrong. Anyway, the point we have to come to right now is European football really under attack? Are the concerns by these fans or these people not from our ethnicity worrying about if football is in danger or whatever?
Or the football pundits,
the football YouTubers who keep saying that no, this is wrong. Well, European football is doing it. I don't see a reason why someone else would not want to do it or why someone else can't do it. Saudi has the money, and technically as of now in our capitalistic world today, we all need money, that's all. And if you're offering enough money, they will come. And that holds true for a lot of players, and there's no shade at any of the players I'm going to name, be it Benzema, Ronaldo, Kante, Brozovic, whoever you think about, Roberto Firmino. These players are at a point in their career where they had to make a choice and they chose money. And it's not wrong because most of them have achieved everything that there is to achieve. Kante has won the Premier League, the Europa League, the UCL, the FA Cup. Everything that was available to him, he did win. He won the World Cup with France. And then Ronaldo obviously won everything. Benzema is also now a Ballon d'Or winner. So they have done everything in their career. So if you look at the profile of the players, at least the high profile players who are moving to the Saudi League, as of now, there's a type. So you can put them all in a relatively generic box which says that they are aging players most likely, who are, if not at the very end of their careers, inching towards the end of their careers, and they have to have a lot of, individual pull. So they should have won either good individual awards or they should have had some amount of fame, and only those people are getting the good money. Like Ronaldo is on a 200 million per year package that includes everything. Benzema also has a similar package. Kante is getting some 100 million per year or something like that. So if you fit in that box, they're going to offer you that kind of money. So now we know what kind of players they want. So and if people have followed football in the last 10-20 years, you will know that this is a very similar profile to the kind of players who were going to the Chinese Super League not too long ago.
Yes.
So there were people like there was a guy called Oscar from Chelsea, if you guys remember, who also left at, that was prime of his career in my opinion at 26-ish. And Ruben Neves now left. He was also he went to the Saudi League now. He is also 26. So you can see the kind of parallels there. So now we have to think about if this present tactic by the Saudi League, by the government or whatever it is going to work, because we have seen this film before in China and it has not really worked. So there are a few key differences between what happened in China before and what is happening in Saudi now. So earlier, I do not know if this is completely verified information, but from what I have gathered, the president in China was a huge fan of football. So he really wanted football to succeed and he wanted to make China a global superpower in football. if you've heard what I just said, it sounds very familiar to what the Saudi people are saying right now. But China actually had a plan, and they released manifestos and manuals and roadmaps of how to do it. So to keep it short, they said that by 2050, China should be like an actual superpower. They should have been World Cup champions by 2050. They should have hosted the World Cup and stuff like that.
Not competing, World Cup champions by 2050.
Yes, so this is not, I'm not talking about participating in the World Cup on a regular basis. They wanted to be World Cup champions by 2050. To be fair, they started this plan in the early 2000s. By 2010, all of this information was public. So they have 40 years to work, and technically, if you have enough money, I think 40 years is enough time to get whatever you want. Case in point, Chelsea, Manchester City, and any other oil-owned club. I am not throwing shade on them. I'm just saying, if you have money, it does get you results. That's just how things are. So yes, that's what China was planning. But in between, I think there was an economic crisis or something of that sort, and the government was like, we are putting too much money here and we're giving too much money there, and we're not getting the results that we wanted, because they expected the Chinese Super League to boom in popularity, get a lot of attention and stuff like that. And I'm not saying it's completely unsuccessful. A lot of it was successful, because we are big countries, India, China, I don't know, Russia. We are big countries. So if let's say India is like a 1.3 billion population now, even if 0.3 billion, that is 300 million watch it, that is quite a lot. That I think is more than what the whole of England combined would watch the Premier League.
Yeah, definitely, yes.
So that the logic works there, because if they want popularity, they technically can achieve it. Their own people are anyway watching football. If you give them good quality football at home to watch, they will watch it. So they started getting big names. They started giving them lucrative contracts, a lot of money. And for a while it seemed like it was working, because more and more big names started going there. Not like Ronaldo and Benzema level big as it's happening now, but for that time, biggish names. And what happened reportedly is that because of this economic crisis or whatever it was, the president said, and most of the businesses that were putting money into the Chinese Super League, in China, I don't exactly know how it works, but from what I hear, most of the businesses are either backed by the government or they run on the government's instructions. So if the government tells them they're supposed to do something, they do it. So because the government said, yes, we are going all in on football, most of these big companies with a lot of money and these billionaires wanted to invest, and they did invest in it. So what happens when an economic crisis comes, or they want to repurpose their money or rechannel their efforts to a different segment? The government says, okay, I don't think football is working out, let's move on to something else. And when that happens, everyone else who was putting money into the league now realizes that, okay, the government backing is not, they were technically not bound to do this anymore. So they started pulling out. On top of this, the Chinese Federation brought in some rules to say that you can't have corporate branding like most of the other leagues have. So you can't have your company's name along with the team, and also they had to restructure something. But if you're not getting the sponsorship that you wanted, if you're not getting the coverage that you wanted by spending the money that you are spending currently, there's no incentive for you to do it, which is exactly what happened. And because they didn't have the incentive to do that, they just didn't do it. And they started pulling out more and more, and there was a salary cap introduced. So you couldn't pay these big players, technically quote unquote big players, a lot of money for doing what they are doing. So the reason for big players to keep moving to that league automatically disappeared. And then they also had a similar rule like we talked about in the other episode, where they had a cap on the number of foreign players that could play there. So all of these things led to the deterioration of the popularity of that league. Yes, Jithu.
Yeah, actually they did one extreme rule also, like every foreign signing there was 100% tax added. So this 100% tax, it means like if you pay 20 million for a foreign player, you'll have to technically pay 40 million, and that extra 20 million will go to the government, which is supposedly going to be used for the developing football infrastructure and academies. That is what the Chinese government had imposed, or the Chinese Football Association had imposed on the Chinese Super League clubs.
Yes, so yeah, as Jithu had said, these rules became quite untenable for big corporations to put their money in, because usually when big money comes in, the rules bend. But here the rules were not bending, and because the big money is backed by the government, and they usually do what the government says, or they have to do what the government says, Now the government is not forcing them or instructing them to put money in football. So that is the end of our Chinese segment of this. So now why did I go into all of that detail? That is why the Chinese Super League and the money they were offering there didn't work out. So what is happening in Saudi now and what is different? So to compare it, let's say Saudi is owned by one single family. Technically they have a king, and right now the country is run by the prince Mohammed bin Salman, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, you are correct.
Don't come and kill me if I get their names wrong, if any of you listen. I don't. So let's go. He runs the country now. He's the crown prince, so technically he runs the country now. So he's in charge of all of these funds and putting money different places. So Saudi's plan is also equally ambitious, and their goal is a lot more short term. So China had let's say even 2010, if they had a roadmap to become world champions by 2050, they had a 40-year period to develop to it. Saudi is way more ambitious. By the year 2030, they want to host 25 world championship level events in their country. If you don't know, if you've not been to the Middle East, most of it is desert land. I'm not saying all of it is desert land. Most of it is desert land, and most of their money, so all of their economy revolves around oil and getting oil out and selling it to other countries. So what right now, even like you saw how it happened for the Qatar World Cup, everyone is trying to diversify, because at some point oil is a resource and it will run out. They want to diversify their assets in financial terms, so that they don't put all their eggs in one basket and then the basket suddenly bursts. So they are trying to channel things towards tourism and sports tourism and other segments of this market. So Qatar successfully managed to pull off arguably the best World Cup in the history of World Cups, and it was quite a spectacle. A lot of people who I knew went and watched the games. They said the stadiums were good, the facilities were good, the games were good, obviously. So to some extent that was successful, it worked. And we'll talk about the ethical aspect of all of this later on. But coming to the money part of it, what their plan is. So by 2030, they want to host 25 world championship level events across different sports, not only this. So the next World Cup, as you all know, is going to happen in the Northern American continent, if I'm not wrong.
Yes,
it's not only in the US. If you thought it was only in the US, it's not only in the US. I think Mexico, US and Canada.
Yes, you are correct. Mexico, US and Canada. 3 countries are hosting. And in terms of geographical area, this will be the biggest World Cup. And also in terms of the number of teams participating, as there are going to be 48 teams.
FIFA money grabbing, no.
Yes.
What else did they expect?
Which will pull it up to a 2-month-long tournament. Yes.
More football for us, but I pity the players. Anyway, they're getting paid well. Coming back to our topic. So Saudi Arabia now has a very ambitious plan that they have to do a lot of this. But to get the kind of pull that they are expecting, that they want, they have to show an intent, and they have to show to the world, showcase to the world, send a message out to the world saying, this is not just silly talk, and we are not just, rich, mad Middle East people saying random shit. We have a plan and we are going to do it. And they did it. Ronaldo was, having a bad time at Old Trafford, technically. And they terminated his contract, and he received a bailout. And that's not a bailout, that is, godsend or something. The timing was so right for both of them, and he moved to Saudi, and they tweaked a few rules and all of that. And it went. So now all of us know the Saudi League because that's where Ronaldo plays. And now all of us know it because Benzema also plays there. And I don't know a single person who hates Kante. Kante plays there. Roberto Firmino plays there. Ruben Neves plays there. What is this? Edward Mendy plays there.
Yes.
There was talk of Messi going there. There was talk of Neymar going there. So there were quite a few big names, and they were ready to pay big money. And realistically speaking, there is no other entity in the world that can afford to pay this kind of salaries to any person, no matter what their genius is. So let's say they are paying a lot of money, that's why he's going there. You could technically rival them. If they are paying Ronaldo 200 million, you pay him 210, 220, 230 million. He will come for you. But the truth is, there is no sporting organization in the whole world who is able to pay that much money. So if they are able to do it, they are doing it. So that's their thing. They're doing it and it's working for them. So now the first part of their plan is successful. We are getting big names, you're drawing attention to our league, and it's working. People are watching the league more. There's more traction. Two random dudes in India are talking about it.
No, one point I'd like to add is like, if any of you remember, the moment Ronaldo got transferred, there were so many streaming sites in India who immediately wanted the rights to broadcast Saudi professional league games, not only in streaming but also in TV. So every Ronaldo match will be broadcasted in it's Sony Live. As of now, Sony Live. Even though if some big event is happening, that's how many eyeballs are there to watch him play. So yeah.
So that was just to put into context how much one player matters. And obviously not every player is as big as Ronaldo, has that much commercial pull as Ronaldo. But that was a masterstroke. You got the most marketable athlete in the whole world to your league. You were bound to get some eyeballs, and eyeballs they did get. That Instagram account grew by leaps, bounds, miles. I don't know what happened to it. It radicalized overnight.
600k to 15.8 million.
They're as big as some PL clubs. I think there was an article I read in The Athletic, and most of the information is from that specific article. Apparently now Al Nassr has more Instagram following than any club in England outside of the top 6.
Yes.
So that is a ridiculous thing, because this league was, I don't know, a non-existent, non-starter for a conversation. And now we are having a conversation about them. So if that's what they wanted, they're getting it. So that is one part of their plan that is successful. The second part of their plan is it's an authoritarian government, because it's run by one family. They want it to happen exactly as they want it. Apparently, I don't know, 60% of the Saudi population is obese or overweight or something. So
Yes.
they're trying to make people play more sports or get them into more physical activity, so it is good for their health or something, because that's how governments work. Apparently for their people is how they're supposed to work.
Yes, and also like that they noticed one thing, like more than 80% of their workforce, especially in the labor field and fields involving a lot of skilled labor, it's all run by the workers are all outside of Saudi.
Yes.
And the average Saudi citizen has so much of privilege that most of them don't even go to work. So when they look at it in the long term, after some point, if by any chance one day, if some of these countries, especially Southeast Asian countries, I'm not saying it will happen, if they're like, we don't want to go there, and suddenly there's nobody to work, because none of the current population wants to work. And because none of them wants to work, they don't really care about higher education also.
True.
So this is basically like part of, I think, trying to bring their population more productive, and which in turn will not resulting them in overly relying on foreign people or people from other countries to for their GDP.
Yes, for their economy. So it starts off as sports, but it transcends sport by a long distance. So this is a grand scheme of things. As you all know, they're already building mega projects there to boost tourism and stuff like that. So all of this is a combined plan. It's not a sport plan separately, and it's working. That's the good part for them. It is working. So now they have gotten their first part successful, getting big names. They're getting more attention. More people are paying attention to their plans. More people are noticing what is going on there. But more people noticing it also has a flip side. It also comes back to the ethical issues, which I promised to you I will get to. I don't want to talk about it right in the beginning. It's going to spoil the whole mood of this conversation. So the main concept is it's an authoritarian government. So they don't want people rioting in the street saying,
Yes.
we want this, we
Yes.
want this, we want this. They give you something to do, you just do that. That's how authoritarian governments work. So now they don't, apparently the last calendar year was the year with the most arrests being made for speaking out against the government.
Yes, yes.
So to avoid things like this, what they do, obviously almost always, is fall back on sport.
Sports washing.
Yes, so again, let's not get into that. So they fall back on sport. So when we are talking about sport, what they are saying is, we would rather, if they want Messi or Ronaldo, we'll give you Messi or Ronaldo. Just go watch him in the stadium. Don't come out on the streets and try to take law into your own hands. You want Messi, we will get you Messi. You want Ronaldo, we'll get you Ronaldo. You want the current Ballon d'Or winner, we will get you the current Ballon d'Or winner. Because we have the money to make it stick, and we will do it. And they got it done. So now, let's assume Ronaldo is coming to play for Kerala Blasters. How many of you would refuse it? It makes no sense.
Yeah, correct only. Yes, I mean, if you have such big stars, like if you put a game anywhere, like these are like global stars. These are people who have who are only second to Instagram in terms of Instagram followers. And if you keep anywhere, legit anywhere, even if some obscure country, they'll know some of these big people. And hundreds and hundreds of people, they'll play insane amounts of even if you put the ticket money to maybe the Indian rupees, maybe 5,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees, people will go. This is like a one-time opportunity to see these people. They will go, no matter where and how you put it.
Exactly. So Saudi ticket rates were apparently like $3, $4 per ticket, and after Ronaldo came, it increased by tenfold. So it's now $40, $50 per ticket. So that's a sizable increase in the revenue they're earning. So you want someone, you're getting someone. The fan isn't going to complain. So now you have taken the people rioting, people questioning you. If people are questioning you, the best tactic is to divert their attention to something that they're passionate about. Most people are passionate about sport. The biggest sport in the world, I don't care who says what, is football. You're getting them among the best, if not the best footballer of all time to play. They won't have any complaints.
And also the fact that football is the biggest sport by far in Saudi.
Also, yes.
Yes, football, they absolutely love football. If you have met an average person from Saudi Arabia, if you have talked to one person, or if you've seen Saudi Arabian people talk, they mostly talk about football only.
Yeah, my father has been to different places in Africa, quite downtrodden places in Africa. My father's friends have worked with humanitarian groups, and they tell me these people don't have water to drink, they don't have shoes to wear, but they're having fights over if Manchester United is better or is Chelsea better. And when I was a kid, it seemed like fool talk to me, but now it makes sense. And this is a country where people are aware, they have education, they might not be working, they might not be putting their efforts to productive skill, but they are like well versed with what is happening in the world. So for them, this is quite a privilege that they can go to their own stadium not far from home and see among the best playing in the world. So they have taken that off the equation. Now the people are on their side, the people of the world are on their side. What is next? What is next is trying to maintain this. Now they have to make sure that the league goes on like this. So what the Saudi government recently did is they took the 4 largest teams under their control. So they took a controlling stake in them.
Yes.
I don't know what the names of the 4 are. I'm not going to name them because I'm going to butcher them. Yes,
okay,
Jithu, go.
I can tell you. Yeah, so the names are, as we all talk about, I think most of you know one of the teams, it's Al Nassr. And the other 3 teams are Al Nassr and its closest rival from Riyadh alone is Al Ahly, and there are 2 other teams which are from Jeddah, which is Al Ittihad, and then next is Al Ahly.
Yes, so we're already hitting 30-minute mark on this.
Yes.
So this is not only about spending money, they are spending money strategically, trying to put it in different areas of their country to appease different populations, because sometimes what happens is you spend money in only one specific area. The other areas obviously will feel a little hurt, and they will be like, you're spending money on them and not us. What did they do that they're better than us? So that instead of having that kind of a conversation, they're spending money. Not like it's not even per se, but it's fairly distributed in my opinion. And other than these 4 teams, they are also investing in 2 other teams in 2 other different parts of the in the country. Go on.
5 other teams. Oh. Yeah, 5 newly formed teams. They are planning to bring them up and add to the league, and they're also planning to increase the total number of teams in the first division starting from next year from 16 to 18, which will put them at par with the top 5 European leagues, at least in terms of the number of teams. So 18 to 20 is the target they're going after. Okay,
so this is all the part of the sporting part. So the sporting part was they're investing money to get more people to watch their league. They're investing more money to get big players so that their interest maintains for at least some time till they get someone better or the quality of the league improves. Number 3 is they're trying to promote tourism in their country. The 4th part is now what are the problems that are there? They are spending an unholy amount of money. How do they plan on maintaining this? Obviously, you can't keep paying 200 million per year for, 10, 15, 20 years. That's not possible. So again, the player profile comes into picture here, because they're at the end of their careers. You don't have to pay them for as long. They'll retire eventually at some point. Hopefully, Ronaldo doesn't become Zlatan and play till like 45 or something. I think he's capable of doing that. He's in peak physical form. But yes, moving on. Then they go on to the player acquisitions. Apparently, the Crown Prince himself told the clubs, and I'm taking this verbatim from the article, himself told the clubs he wanted to bring players to attract tourism and things like that. He said, I'll put money in your account, go and bring any player you want. He did that for all the clubs, even the small ones. When they go to sign a player, they just try to put a number that you cannot refuse. This is exactly what they did for Benzema.
Whoa. That's a I don't know how to describe that. That's a lot of money, yes.
And like I said, they want to give people whatever they want, as long as they do whatever they want. No questions have to be asked. This holds true for their own country people and also for the players. You follow our rules, we are giving you money. You play for us for however much ever you want. We will pay you. Just don't talk about anything else. So now we've got the money part, the people part, to some extent the political part out of it. Now, it also has a certain religious aspect to it, because there are quite a few footballers who are Muslims by faith. So Benzema said this, it's a Muslim country. So some players do prefer to play there based on their faith, as is the case with Benzema. He said it's a Muslim country. So it gives me pleasure, it gives me joy that I'm playing in a country where it's a Muslim country. So there are no restrictions, or how should I say this? It's easier in a way. So there is that aspect. Aside from that, there are big names who have ticked all their boxes in their career. So they have achieved everything that is there to achieve, and they want one last big payday. And Saudi Arabia ticks all their boxes. Apparently, after Ronaldo went, they changed a few rules for him, because he's not married to his fiancée. He's not allowed to stay in that country. He's not allowed to stay with another woman who's not who you're not married to.
Yeah.
So they tweaked a few rules for him and stuff like that. And they changed a few rules for their own people. So traditionally, these authoritarian countries are not, how should I say this, very accommodating of the fairer gender.
Yes.
So they don't allow them to drive cars and all of this stuff. I don't know how much of that is true. I haven't asked my friends or relatives who are from there. But to some extent, it would be true that they're not allowed to drive cars, they can't wear whatever they want and all of that stuff. But for football, they have made exclusions. Now, female fans are allowed into the stadiums. They can wear whatever they want to a large extent, with a few exceptions. They can't wear apparently tight hugging clothes or revealing clothes or anything of that sort. But they're allowed to watch games in the stadium without their burqas technically. And that is quite a big jump for a traditionally conservative nation. And I think that is definitely an achievement. That's a step forward.
Yes.
In a sort of right direction, I think. So what are I saying? So Saudi Arabia is viewed as a place for top layer of clubs to also offload their high earning and high profile players.
Example, Chelsea.
Yes. So this is one interesting thing that I haven't thought of. Because these people are willing to pay a lot of money, and the people who are usually earning a lot of money at your own club are like big name players, you could technically, if they want to, just sell them to them. Like, let's just assume Edward Mendy was earning a lot of money. I don't know how much he was earning exactly, but it was quite a big chunk of money. If you didn't want him in the team anymore, you could technically sell him off. But who is willing to pay you big money for that? And even if they are paying big money for that, the player has to like their project. He has to think about his career and all of that. But when then someone is offering you an obnoxious amount of money, I don't think these other concerns are as important for them as the money they are going to earn, because it's technically one of their they're on the last legs of their career, so they want to make it big, get a lot of money and just chill in the end. So it ticks a lot of boxes for them to offload their players. And like Jithu said, Chelsea is not the only club, to be fair, but it's an easy example to take right now because of the number of players that are moving there. So an example that this article took was Nicolas Pepe, who has 12 months remaining on his 10 million a year contract at Arsenal. He could fit that description. He's only 28 or whatever, But he's a high earner. The team is technically not any weaker without him, and the team is not a lot better because he's playing. So if you technically don't want him and he doesn't fit in your plans, and he, let's say no other big European clubs are willing to match his wages or want to pay a lot of money as transfer fees, that Saudi does seem like a good option because they're willing to pay you a lot of money. They're willing to pay the club a lot of money. It makes sense for the team to offload them. So there was a veteran apparently. So now we are moving into the problems.
Yes.
Till now we were talking about how they have done it and how it has worked for them. Now we're talking about what problems they have in their league. One of the biggest, most obvious thing is payment. They are offering a lot of money and they will pay it as usually what we think. But non-payment of wages is a very common thing in almost every institute that exists in the world. And only the high profile players we know about. So we know that Ronaldo is going to get paid, because if Ronaldo doesn't get paid, we will know. And people will riot, and then that's just bad PR for you. So they will pay the big players. But what about all the other players? Other foreign players also play in that league. And not everyone is as high profile as Benzema, Ronaldo, Kante, whatever. So we'll never know if they don't get paid. So in the last 18 months, apparently, I think Al Ahly were sanctioned because in the last 18 months there were 4 tribunals chaired by FIFA just to address that non-payment of wages issues. And getting FIFA to chair a tribunal itself is a big thing. They chaired 4 tribunals in the last 18 months. That's how serious that had become.
Whoa.
And F.A.R, the organization that represents 65,000 or 70,000 of professional football players, apparently warned last summer saying that you should not sign for those clubs alongside countries like Algeria, China, Romania and Turkey, because you will have problems of non-payment of salaries, and it seems to be a recurring problem, is what the F.A.R said. So for the smaller profile players, or slightly, let's not say obscure players, but players not as big as our big names, it is a problem. But on the surface it seems like everything is fine. They're getting a lot of money, they're going to Saudi, obviously money. But there is a payment of there is an issue of non-payment of wages. Now, as I promised, we come to our sports washing part of this, the ethical problems with
The
it.
human rights.
There are, I don't know how to put it in words, but there are a lot of human rights violations that happen in the Middle East, and not for the Middle East alone. A lot of authoritarian governments tend to do that to keep people under check, because fear is a very, easy way to keep a large part of your population under control. So they say to cover up their sports washing is a term that's used to describe you trying to better your image in the international community by doing something else to divert the attention of the international community. Like I gave you an example of how the fans don't care anymore because they're getting the best players in the world to play in their league. The outside people also don't care because it's not affecting them, one. Second, even if you're going to talk about the human rights violations, they'll be like, no, look, Ronaldo. No, look, he's playing. So that's basically sports washing. So Qatar, despite all its issues, hosted the World Cup and did it quite well apparently. So that was a sports washing case. Them owning PSG is apparently a sports washing case. These are all examples of sports washing. So this is the ethical part of the conundrum, that you can support them, but then there are all of these issues in the background that they're trying to, divert your attention from, so you don't speak about them, which is not a good thing, but then it's happening, and it happens everywhere. Not that it only happens there, but it's a thing that we should take into consideration. So that's one problem. Second problem is women's rights and all of that. See, that's another thing that they're trying to cover up, but there are at least few things are changing, which is for the better. At least it's better than nothing changing at all. And then we again come back to the problem of the clubs, certain clubs, the smaller clubs that are not being, not getting enough money from these people because they're focusing on a few clubs to spend a lot of their money on. They are entitled to complain saying, okay, we are not getting their money, so we don't get those big players. And their argument makes sense because if, let's assume Al Nassr, if Ziyech would have gone, would have been like a mad team compared to all the other teams in that league.
Definitely, yes.
How are the smaller teams going to compare with them is a question they asked. To which the answer in the article that I read was that someone in the league like the chairperson or someone on the board for the league said, it'll be a trickle down effect. If the big players go there, the other good players in those teams won't have time to play or won't get game time, so they'll trickle down and go to the smaller teams, quote unquote smaller teams, which kind of makes sense. But then there is that disparity that they have to figure out. And in case you guys follow golf by any random chance, the Saudi people started, I think, 5 years or something back. Like the PGA Tour is the ultimate golf tour that the World Championships and all come from. They started something called Live Golf or something like that.
Live Golf, yes.
What happened, I think, this year only, a few months back, was Live Golf bought off PGA, and PGA is now a part of Live Golf. So, to give you an example, the World Cup for FIFA or the World Cup for cricket is the World Championship. So, if you win that, you win the whole world. Assume a league like IPL, a title like IPL has bought off the World Cup. So the ICC is now under the BCCI, let's assume. That is what is happening here. So Live Golf is a new organization that they wanted, that, and it was PGA's by far the only rival, apparently, one of the big ones at least. And they just bought off their rival because they have the money to do it. So in a cricketing sense, IPL does have the money. It's a bigger league than anything else in the cricketing world, at least. It can technically, how should I say, there was a bid in between to take over the ICC by India and England and Australia. So it's something like that. But this time, in this context, it was successful. So it's not foreign for the Saudi tourism sports minister or their whatever their investment people are to actually buy up leagues or whatever, because they want to get that authenticity. The PGA Tour has existed for more than a century. For more than a century, they have been playing their games, trying to build up their standard, gain that authenticity and trust of people. Saudi did it in 2 years. They bought it off.
Incredible.
So that's how much money they have, and that's how much dedication they have to their cause to get something done, and they will get it done. So the moral of the story, I guess, is that if you have the money and the will to pull it off and the proper execution, you can pull it off. So, in conclusion, I don't think Saudi is technically killing football or destroying football. European football has been attracting top level talent, and if other places have to improve, they have to spend a lot of money, they have to have a proper plan. And unfortunately for European football, Saudi does have a plan. So it's not like forever European football is going to be the best. At some point, South American football was the best. Pele and Maradona all used to play there. And when that moved out to Europe, now European football is the best. So there are eras. Eras come and go, teams come and go, organizations come and go. And I think for once, Asian football is benefiting from this, because we are now, I think at some point Man City could play Al Nassr, and then we would have our Indian players, not Man City, Mumbai City. I'm sorry, I keep making that error. Could at some point play Ronaldo. So imagine you are invested in football, you go to your own stadium and you have Ronaldo playing there. That's how wild it is. So people being afraid that football is getting destroyed, no, it is not getting destroyed. Things keep changing, the game keeps evolving, and it's not like only Europe is where football is played. Football is played all over the world. Other countries also can try to improve. It's just that European football had a bigger pull. At some point, after investing enough money, I think Saudi League also will be up. Among all these Muslim countries, at least it's the top ranked league. It's 58th in the world or something like that, which is not bad. It's below the Scottish Premiership for now. Let's see about it in a couple of years. So it will work. It's not that it won't. Yes, Jithu. Yeah, so it will work. It's not that it won't. At some point, it's bound to work. You throw enough money at the wall, you try and fix your problems with the resources you have, it will work. So it's not that football is getting destroyed, it's just that it's being relocated. And it's, for us, it is good. As Indians, we might have a trickle down effect where we might get to see big name players. At one point in the ISL, I think Roberto Carlos and all came to play.
Yes.
We had that Liverpool guy come and coach East Bengal. He did a horrid job, but still. What is it? Robbie Fowler.
Yes, Robbie Fowler.
So we do have big names coming to our country, and I think it will keep on continuing. That's good for the game as a whole. Because now we are only used to watching European football, but eventually we can even watch Asian football, which will be of that standard. So it's good for the game in that way, and the rest of it is how should I say this? You watch the Qatar World Cup, you don't talk about their human rights violations anymore. And I think that's exactly what will happen with Saudi Arabia as well. Yes.
Yeah, just a few more points. Like earlier we talked about the comparison between China and Saudi. So I have been following Asian football for like quite a long time right now. So as of now, the Saudi Professional League is the by far one of the top two leagues. Only Japan comes close to that. So they are, as of now, the highest ranked league in Asia. So when you look at China's league was very low back then. So the starting point itself was low. So in Saudi, okay, you have the best league in the continent, and also you have fans. You have local people who love football. So I think that is one thing that is different in Saudi Arabia right now. And they are also, one interesting thing that I'd like to add, like for Indian viewers, so the Saudi F.A.R, or you call it the Saudi Arabia Football Federation, SAFF, have agreed, like have signed a memorandum of understanding with Indian football or AIFF. And this involves, like, the first thing that they did was they are Santosh Trophy, or state, like national level. It's a national level football tournament competed by states and some government institutions. So the finals, like the semi-final and the final, were held in Saudi Arabia and using their facilities, which is much better than
any facility our country right now has.
Yes. And because of this, the broadcast was also better. And actually, this was the first time so many people watched the final of the Santosh Trophy. So they are indirectly trying to tap into Indian market also. And if you don't know right now, India is the most populated country in the world right now. India has overtaken China. It's just not set out officially right now. You will get that in maybe 1 year or 2 years maybe.
Yeah, that is because our census in 2021 that was supposed to be done wasn't done, but that's Indian politics and we will not get into it.
So out of that, one more thing is, see, when I talk more about it, you will begin to understand. So the thing is, there have been a plan of doing an all-star game. So Saudi League All-Stars will play ISL All-Stars. So all these big names will come to India, and there's a potential, the viewership or the amount of people who will be watching this and the global audience of people who will notice it will be comparable to European levels.
It'll be better, sir, because in the 2018 World Cup final, it had some 1 billion or 1.5 billion viewers. That time the world population was said to be around 7 billion. So 1 in every 7 people was watching it, which means that any of you listening, there's a high chance that you did watch that game or some footage of that game. India by itself has 1.3 billion people.
Yes.
And Saudi has, I don't know how much population. And because these big names are playing, it doesn't matter who they are playing against, the rest of the world also will be watching. So that's good for our country. And even if we don't get like 1 billion views or whatever we are getting will be more than I think even the Cricket World Cup final will get, or the IPL final get, or anything that the IPL or any other cricketing organization gets at any point of time.
Yes. And like one last point, I mean, this is specifically to the European pundits and European people who are getting pissed off.
We're not that big to talk to them yet, but if you do listen, let's go.
So if you are a European football fan also listening who is against, who is like completely against, who should ban Saudi Arabia, all this shit and all. What did you guys do? You did the same thing. Is anywhere in the rest of the world people complaining other than your continent, which is technically much smaller in terms of population and much smaller in terms of geographic area, and is lagging behind Asia right now? South America has no problem. North America has no problem. Asia also doesn't have any problem. Africa also
doesn't have any
problem. So it's just you guys having problem, because your money share has been taken away from you. Your popularity and limelight which you have been received is the attention is going somewhere else, which you do not want, and especially the Premier League. So you done the same thing. It just criticizing another organization for the same thing you've done
is hypocrisy.
Yes, it is utter hypocrisy. Yes, and hence, like, the thing you can do is you can compete with them. So putting a ban is just like you asking, like, we want the whole money, which is not the right thing. So there's no point, there's no argument here right now. So as long as Saudi is willing to spend, they are rival, to see them as a rival, not like treat it fairly, have a fair competition. And yeah, that's, I think, pretty much the point I have to add about it. And if you have anything else.
Yes, I think we're done. We talked about this alone for 45 minutes. Thank God we didn't include it in the other episode. I am sorry for the YouTube viewers because my laptop is dead and I can't make fancy animations for you guys to watch on YouTube. So you'll just have to listen to it like an audio podcast, but just on YouTube. But I assure you the content will not dip in quality. We have researched quite well about this and we intend to keep this up. Content will be good as long as you have the heart and the patience to listen to it through and through. I think this is the deepest dive we have done, or possibly anyone in our country of 1.3 billion people will ever do on this specific topic. And that was it. Thank you so much for listening. Outro, sir.
Yeah, please do subscribe to our channel, follow us on Instagram, and join our community. And if you have any suggestions, do leave it in the comment section, or message us in Instagram or Facebook. And we've decided, like, we'll be covering more of in detail of topics like the ones we had right now. And because a lot of people don't know about these things, I mean, you can get a weekend review, like what is happening currently in league, that you can get anytime. But these are some of the things which are less talked about, but are of very high importance. Like, these are the inner workings of how football works. So we will be talking about these topics more. And if our viewers are interested in more things, we will...
Yes, because you can get any European football roundup in any other channel that you can just search for on YouTube. You will find out about Manchester United, Liverpool, PSG, Bayern, anywhere else on earth. We don't have to be one of the... We do like those sports. We do follow about it. We do talk about this all the time. And this podcast is just basically us talking about the same stuff, which is that we are recording it. But here we are choosing to talk about things that other people usually don't talk about, because that is the only thing that's different between us and them. If we are doing the same stuff that they are doing, it makes no sense for us to do it, because
definitely
they are more, I don't know, how should I say this, talented. That is their main job, I'm assuming. So they will do it. They get paid for it. We're just doing it out of passion. And this is something that we are passionate about, and we are doing our work. So please do your bit and listen through to the end. And please share it if you think other people will benefit from it. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. See you later.